victory. And in this game and the following 3 or 4 games, we're going to take a look. What will be victory? And in this game and welcome to some more spicy videos with me, Grandmaster Simon Williams, aka the Ginger GM. What are we going to be looking at today? Well, I'm going to do a mini-series continuing some aggressive ideas in the opening that might help you guys get a quick victory. And in this game and the following 3 or 4 games, we're going to take a look at an opening which is very interesting, very aggressive, and extremely romantic. The Evans Gambit. Now, the Evans Gambit is still played at top level on rare occurrences, but it's been around for a number of years. And it's a great way to try and get an early attack after the move e4 in certain variations, which we'll come to soon. Now, the first game we're going to look at here is really an introduction to the Evans Gambit, and I'm going to demonstrate one of the most famous games of all time. This is a game between Anderson with the white pieces and de Fresnay with the black pieces. It was played in 1852 and it was coined the Evergreen Game. So it's a famous game. It's even got its own name, the Evergreen Game. And apparently this name came from Steinitz, who wrote about this game. And it's a symbolic meaning which is named after a plant, apparently. There you go. That's my useless little bit of knowledge you can get there on the name. And it really is a brilliant game. And it really does sum up the romantic era of chess around that time with some brilliant attacking ideas. So let's dive into the action, shall we? And we're going to be looking at this from the white side. And the opening started e4, e5. So again, this series is really concentrating on spicy ideas you can play against e5 after the move e4. Now, knight to f3. And of course, we've looked at other moves in my spicy series. We looked at the King's Gambit and the Danish Gambit. So I would recommend you check those ideas out as well. But after knight to f3, knight to c6 is the main move. Now bishop c4, and here we're going to concentrate on bishop c5. Now the other move that black plays here, knight to f6, has been looked at in my previous videos on the Max Lang attack. And again, I give a very aggressive option for white against this knight to f6 move. So we've covered that in previous videos. But bishop to c5 is now a very common answer from black. Black develops a piece and he stops any of these annoying ideas with knight g5 because the queen can snap that piece off. Now the Evans Gambit is now with the move b4, a very aggressive wing punt. It was actually named after a sea captain, Captain Evans, who was originally from Wales, who came up with this idea on board a boat when he was crossing the Atlantic, apparently. So even a romantic origin for the opening. And what's the idea of this b4 move? Well, you're trying to divert a piece away to b4, and really the only way to refute a gambit is by accepting the gambit. Later on we will have a look at bishop b6, but the only real challenge is bishop takes b4. Now, knight takes b4 drops the e5 pawn, so that's not a very good option, and bishop takes b4 is the only move you really need to concern yourself about. And the point of this gambit is to now go c3. So we gain a tempo by attacking the bishop on b4. The bishop has to move. In this position, there's 2 good options for black, either bishop a5 or bishop e7. And we'll look at these in a future video because they really require a bit of theory, a bit of explanations. In this game, black played bishop a5, and here white played d4. One of the main ideas of this Evans Gambit. You go c3 to support d4 and attack in the center as quickly as possible. Here, black captured on d4. There is one other option, which again we'll look at later on, and that is d6, but taking on d4 is clearly critical, because the pawn on c3 is pinned. But we're playing in a romantic fashion. We're trying to destroy our opponent. Let's not care about pawns. Whenever you're sacrificing gambiting, and if you want to be one of these romantic attacking players, you have to really play with a bit of like lack of respect to material and a bit of a flamboyant way. Don't care about material, just attack. And the way White plays this is really nice because every move is pretty much a forwards move, and every move has a purpose. And the one thing to bear in mind throughout this video is timing. If you play a gambit, timing is so key. You can't waste tempo. You don't care about your opponent taking pawns. You just develop at the speed of light. So with all that in mind, White now castled. And now you are threatening to just simply take back on d4, and you'd have two lovely pawns in the centre. In this game, Black decided to push on with d3. There are a number of options there. Again, we'll look at them later on. And here we see another typical idea for the Evans Gambit. One of the key weaknesses in Black's structure is the f7 square. This is one thing to always remember. Attack that square. Attack. So how can you attack it here? Well, you could go knight g5, which seems like a very natural move. But against this move, Black can play knight to h6, defending that pawn. And he's getting ready to castle. We don't want our opponent to castle here. A better idea is queen b3. Again, attacking f7, but stopping the defensive idea of knight to h6, because now we're not blocking the bishop, so the bishop can simply eliminate that defensive piece on h6 with a very big attack here. So after queen b3, Black has some difficulties defending f7. Now, a key thing to remember here is, if you play bishop c4 and queen b3 in the Evans Gambit, make sure you don't run into knight to a5, or be careful of knight to a5. Black can't do this here because there's a piece in the way, so we don't need to worry about that. Queen to f6 was played by Black, defending this pawn on f7. And now, again, remember, attack. Which move here is the most aggressive? Well, there's two options. Bishop g5 or the move played. And the move played was e5. I really like this move. You're using your central pawn to, again, attack. This pawn cannot be taken because if Black plays knight takes e5, we simply pin that knight to the king. And again, look how weak the Black king is here. And after a move like d6, we have a lot of good options, but a simple move like queen b5 check would win us a piece and the game. So Black saw this, and Black played queen g6, and now White went rook e1 anyway. And this stops ideas of d6 and f6, because we'd be able to take those pawns, open up the rook with a check. Black played knight ge7, trying to desperately get castled. And now we see another key idea of the Evans Gambit. Bishop a3. So often this bishop comes to this beautiful diagonal, trying to cut across the Black king and trying to stop the Black king from castling. And the point here is, if Black now castles, well, maybe he should castle, but at least our bishop has this lovely pin on the knight, and we have ongoing pressure. Okay, Black played b5 here. I don't think this is the best move. White captured that pawn, and now rook b8. So returning a pawn here to try to gain some activity, that's the Black idea. The queen went to a4, and now bishop b6. The problem here is, if Black now tries to castle, you can win a piece. Can you see how you can win a piece here? Pause the video if you need to. Quite simple, quite straightforward. Bishop takes e7. Knight takes e7, and now the knight no longer defends the bishop on a5, so we simply take that piece. So Black played bishop b6, and here White simply played knight bd2, developing his last piece. Now I have a rule. When you're attacking, if there's no immediate breakthrough, look at your reinforcements, look at your pieces which are not playing a part in the game, aka the knight on a1, and try to bring them into the fray. And this knight has a great future. It can rush to this good central square. Now, of course, Black should have castled in this position. One of the funny things I always find when I look at these old romantic games, which would never happen now, it kind of seems like the defender, or should we say the receiver of the brilliancy, often plays into the attacker's hands, and you wouldn't see this at the top level now. After castles, white still has a very good attack here. Possibly the rook can swing around to attack. There are many ideas here, but this is a much better option for black. After bishop b7, black is basically saying, come on, attack me. Which is quite funny. This is what a lot of these old-fashioned games are. And I guess in order to sometimes create a bit of beauty, brilliancy, you need your opponent to play along a little bit. So now white brought the knight to e4. And here, if black castles, well, bishop takes d3 would be a very good attacking position for white with ideas of knight f6 check, winning the black queen. Black now played queen f5. Again, a pretty silly move there. White played bishop takes d3 anyway, and there are ideas of winning this queen with a knight jump, so the queen had to move again. And now we come to an amazing combination, and this is one of the most famous combinations in the history of chess. And one of the reasons that this game is the evergreen game. Now, white could have played a move like knight g3, leading to a good position, but I really love the way white plays this. Every move is a forwards move, and when you're attacking, you've got to seize the initiative, seize your opportunity to launch your pieces. All of white's pieces are very well placed, so why not throw them into the mix? Knight to f6 check. An extraordinary check there. The idea is to open up this baby on e1. Come on, Rook, join in the fun. Well, of course, black has to take the knight, and now pawn takes f6. And look at the pressure against the knight on e7. Black plays a good move here, rook g8, trying to start a counter-attack against the white king. And now there's only one piece not playing a part in the attack, the rook on a1. And I think at this moment, Anderson, who was considered the unofficial world champion in 1852, he won a very important tournament in London in 1851, and this really confirms his position as the world number one. I think he saw the end of the game now, and he wanted to create a piece of art. I mean, a move like bishop takes e7 looks very strong, but he went rook a1 with a very interesting idea in mind. Black now fell into the trick. He played queen takes f3, and things look very scary for white because there's a threat of queen takes g2. Now can you see why this rook was moved to d1? An absolutely brilliant combination coming up, and I won't blame you if you don't see the end of it. First of all, rook takes e7 check, and this is aiming to release the queen towards d7. Black captured the rook. Knight takes e7. If the king moves, well, then rook takes d7 check is going to lead to a winning position for white. You can't really take that rook because there's either bishop f5 leading to a mate. You can have a look at how that's going to be mates at home, or bishop e4 simply winning the queen. And after king c8, there's a very nice move here. Quite a hard move to see. Can you see the move here? Remember, you can't take the queen at the moment because the rook is on g8. Pause the video if you need a bit more time here. Rook to d8 check. What an absolutely stunning idea. The point is, if rook takes rook, we take the queen because we get rid of the pin on our g-pawn. And if any other move occurs here, well, we're going to have a checkmate position. For example, king takes d8, and now we can play bishop e2 check, simply winning the queen. I'll let you guys try to work out what would happen if knight takes rook occurs. So I'm not going to... You have to use your own brain now and again, guys. Anyway, going back, in the actual game, black decided to play knight takes c7. And now a fantastic idea. A beautiful idea. And something that, Anderson must have seen in advance. Can you spot the idea? I mean, this is so nice. It's a forced checkmate now in 4 moves. And if you see this, well, you are on your way to being a world champion in 1852. Queen takes d7 check, giving up more material. Now that queen has to be taken. What is the point of this? Well, we have an ambush with the bishop and a double check. Where would you move that bishop again? Pause the video now if you need a bit more time. You should be able to find the checkmate now. Look for double checks. Bishop f5 check is the correct square because now the king can't come to e6. And it's double check from the bishop and the rook. You have to get out of the check. Beautiful stuff. If the king goes to c6, checkmate in one move. Can you see how? I'm not even going to tell you. Well, the king moved to e8 in the game, and now it's checkmate in two moves. Bishop e7 check, and wherever the king goes, king f8, bishop takes e7, checkmate. Look at that checkmate. Those powerful bits, because lack of respect to material, and a bit of a flamboyant way. Don't care about the typical idea for the Evans Gambit. One of the key weaknesses in black's pawns. Whenever you're sacrificing gambiting, and if you want to be one of these romantic attacking players, you have to really play with a bit of like lack of respect to material and a bit of a flamboyant way. Don't care about material, just attack. And the way white plays this is really nice because every move is pretty much a forwards move, and every move has a purpose. And the one thing to bear in mind throughout this video is timing. If you play a gambit, timing is so key. You can't waste tempo. You don't care about your opponent taking pawns. You just develop at the speed of light. So with all that in mind, white now castled. And now you are threatening to just simply take back on d4, and you'd have two lovely pawns in the centre. In this game, black decided to push on with d3. There are a number of options there. Again, we'll look at them later on. And here we see another typical idea for the Evans Gambit. One of the key weaknesses in black structure is the f7 square. This is one thing to always remember. Attack that square. Attack. So how can you attack it here? Well, you could go knight g5. Which seems like a very natural move. But against this move, black can play knight to h6, defending that pawn. And he's getting ready to castle. We don't want our opponent to castle here. A better idea is queen b3. Again, attacking f7, but stopping the defensive idea of knight to h6, because now we're not blocking the bishop, so the bishop can simply eliminate that defensive piece on h6 with a very big attack here. So after queen b3, black has some difficulties defending f7. Now, a key thing to remember here is, if you play bishop c4 and queen b3 in the Evans Gambit, make sure you don't run into knight to a5, or be careful of knight to a5. Black can't do this here because there's a piece in the way, so we don't need to worry about that. Queen to f6 was played by black, defending this pawn on f7. And now again, remember attack. Which move here is the most aggressive? Well, there's two options. Bishop g5 or the move played. And the move played was e5. I really like this move. You're using your central pawn to again attack. This pawn cannot be taken because if black plays knight takes e5, we simply pin that knight to the king. And again, look how weak the black king is here. And after a move like d6, we have a lot of good options, but a simple move like queen b5 check would win us a piece and the game. So black saw this, and black played queen g6, and now white went rook e1 anyway. And this stops ideas of d6 and f6, because we'd be able to take those pawns, open up the rook with a check. Black played knight g7, trying to desperately get castled. And now we see another key idea of the Evans Gambit. Bishop a3. So often, this bishop comes to this beautiful diagonal, trying to cut across the black king and trying to stop the black king from castling. And the point here is, if black now castles, well, maybe he should castle, but at least our bishop has this lovely pin on the knight, and we have ongoing pressure. Okay, black played b5 here. I don't think this is the best move. White captured that pawn, and now rook b8. So returning a pawn here to try to gain some activity, that's the black idea. The queen went to a4, and now bishop to b6. The problem here is, if black now tries to castle, you can win a piece. Can you see how you can win a piece here? Pause the video if you need to. Quite simple, quite straightforward. Bishop takes e7. Knight takes e7, and now the knight no longer defends the bishop on a5, so we simply take that piece. So black played bishop b6, and here White simply played knight bd2, developing his last piece. Now, I have a rule. When you're attacking, if there's no immediate breakthrough, look at your reinforcements, look at your pieces which are not playing a part in the game, aka the knight on a1, and try to bring them into the fray. And this knight has a great future. It can rush to this good central square. Now, of course, black should have castled in this position. One of the funny things I always find when I look at these old romantic games, which would never happen now, it kind of seems like the defender, or should we say the receiver of the brilliancy, often plays into the attacker's hands, and you wouldn't see this at top level now. After castles, White still has a very good attack here. Possibly the rook can swing around to attack. There are many ideas here, but this is a much better option for black. After bishop b7, black is basically saying, come on, attack me. Which is quite funny. This is what a lot of these old-fashioned games are. And I guess in order to sometimes create a bit of beauty, brilliancy, you need your opponent to play along a little bit. So now White brought the knight in, knight to e4. And here, if black castles, well, bishop takes d3 would be a very good attacking position for White, with ideas of knight f6 check, winning the black queen. Black now played queen f5, again, a pretty silly move there. White played bishop takes d3 anyway, and there are ideas of winning this queen with a knight jump, so the queen had to move again. And now we come to an amazing combination, and this is one of the most famous combinations in the history of chess, and one of the reasons that this game is the evergreen game. Now, White could have played a move like knight g3, leading to a good position, but I really love the way White plays this. Every move is a forwards move, and when you're attacking, you've got to seize the initiative, seize your opportunity to launch your pieces. All of White's pieces are very well placed, so why not throw them into the mix? Knight to f6 check. An extraordinary check there. The idea is to open up this baby on e1. Come on, Rook, join in the fun. Well, of course, black has to take the knight, and now pawn takes f6. And look at the pressure against the knight on e7. Black plays a good move here, rook g8, trying to start a counter-attack against the white king. And now there's only one piece not playing a part in the attack, the rook on a1. And I think at this moment, Anderson, who was considered the unofficial world champion in 1852, he won a very important tournament in London in 1851, and this really confirmed his position as the world #1. I think he saw the end of the game now, and he wanted to create a piece of art. I mean, a move like bishop takes e7 looks very strong, but he went rook a1 with a very interesting idea in mind. Black now fell into the trick. He played queen takes f3, and things look very scary for White because there's a threat of queen takes g2. Now can you see why this rook was moved to d1? An absolutely brilliant combination coming up, and I won't blame you if you don't see the end of it. First of all, rook takes e7 check, and this is aiming to release the queen towards d7. Black captured the rook, knight takes e7. If the king moves, well, then rook takes d7 check is going to lead to a winning position for White. You can't really take that rook because there's either bishop f5 leading to a mate. You can have a look at how that's going to be made at home, or bishop e4 simply winning the queen. And after king c8, there's a very nice move here, quite a hard move to see. Can you see the move here? Remember, you can't take the queen at the moment because the rook is on g8. Pause the video if you need a bit more time here. Rook to d8 check. What an absolutely stunning idea. The point is, if rook takes rook, we take the queen because we get rid of the pin on our g-pawn. And if any other move occurs here, well, we're going to have a checkmate position. For example, king takes d8, and now we can play bishop e2 check, simply winning the queen. I'll let you guys try to work out what would happen if knight takes rook occurs. So I'm not going to... You have to use your own brain now and again, guys. Anyway, going back, in the actual game, Black decided to play knight takes e7. And now a fantastic idea. A beautiful idea. and something that Anderson must have seen in advance. Can you spot the idea? I mean, this is so nice. It's a forced checkmate now in 4 moves. And if you see this, well, you are on your way to being a world champion in 1852. Queen takes d7 check, giving up more material. Now that queen has to be taken. What is the point of this? Well, we have an ambush with the bishop and a double check. Where would you move that bishop again? Pause the video now if you need a bit more time. You should be able to find the checkmate now. Look for double checks. Bishop f5 check is the correct square because now the king can't come to e6. And it's double check from the bishop and the rook. You have to get out of the check. Beautiful stuff. If the king goes to c6, checkmate in one move. Can you see how? I'm not even going to tell you. Well, the king moved to e8 in the game, and now it's checkmate in 2 moves. Bishop e7 check, and wherever the king goes, king f8, bishop takes e7 checkmate. Look at that checkmate, those powerful bishops. It really is some artistic scene there, with those bishops destroying the black king. And even though white so much material down, every piece played a part in the attack, and that's why this game was considered one of the most famous games of all time, the evergreen game. And I think that is a great introduction to the Evans Gambit. I hope you enjoyed that game. Please have a look at the other videos I'm going to post, which are going to go into more detail on the Evans Gambit. Hopefully, welcome to my give away your pawns and be a romantic. That's what I say. And this game is really going to demonstrate some of the main ideas in the Evans Gambit. So before we have a look at some of the real theory of the opening, I just want to get the main ideas you should be thinking as white when you're playing, because I think this is more important than remembering certain moves. So let's dive into the action. It's a game played here that I found quite not a very well-known game between, I think, 2 German players. And it gets played in something like 1951, but it's a really good example of white's attacking power in the Evans Gambit. And it really fits into our spicy opening range. So the Evans Gambit is the opening for when you play e4, and after e5 we go knight to f3, knight to c6, and now bishop to c4. And this kind of fits into my range of openings that I've been showing you. This has more potential to be an aggressive move than the more commonly played bishop to b5, because on c4 the bishop strikes out against black's Achilles heel, the weakness on f7. The f7 pawn is a weakness because it's only defended by the king. If you look at the other squares around the king, like e7 and d7, they're defended by at least 4 pieces, well, 5 pieces in some positions. So bishop c4 has potential to be a more attacking move. Now, we're concentrating on bishop c5 and now b4, the start of the Evans Gambit. A real fun way to play. Now, what should black do here? Well, really, the only way to refute a gambit is by accepting it. And the only good way to accept this gambit is bishop takes b4, because this keeps hold of the e5 square. Now, what is White's idea behind this gambit? Well, it's to gain tempo. Often when you play a gambit, you've got to get something in return. Often it's a gain of time, so you can build a centre, get your pieces in attacking position. Sometimes you can do positional sacrifices if you gain a very important square. And other times you can do desperation sacrifices. I tend to do a lot of them myself, unfortunately, where you have to sacrifice something, otherwise your king is going to be in serious trouble. But this is a sacrifice to gain time, to gain the initiative, to pressurise your opponent. So we gain time with c3. The bishop has to move. Bishop a5 play, one of the 2 major defences. The other major defence is bishop to e7. And now d4. And this is my suggestive way of playing against bishop to a5, just to keep pushing in the position. Now, we'll have a look at d6 in the next game. But black really should Well, he often takes on d4. This move on d6 are the main ideas. Other moves, really, they can lead him into trouble because you're going to simply take on e5, get your pawn back with a good attack. So after taking on d4, can you remember from the first game what you should be doing here? And remember, this gambit, as I've said before, is about time. You're trying to gain time, develop quickly, get your king safe. Get your pieces attacking. Hit the square on f7. What should you do here? Well, I like the move castles because this gets your king safe and it has a positional threat of now playing pawn on c3 takes d4. When you will get two strong pawns in the centre, and that's just going to be a very good compensation. You couldn't move that pawn forward because it was pinned. So I like this move a lot. Now in this game, Black played a bad move. He played bishop to b6, and now we're going to see the potential of these two central pawns. This move is just too slow. A much better move would have been knight to e7, and this is the best defensive move for Black. Why is knight to f6 a mistake? I mean, you should be able to answer that. Remember, every time you play an opening like this, you need to think of ways to gain time and to create threats. If you haven't got an immediate way to win, you've got to create threats when you gambit. And here's a very simple way to create a threat: pawn to e5. And this already leaves Black in some difficulties here because the knight has no good square to go to. So that's why knight e7 is the best defensive move. And in the next game, we will look at what I think is the best way to play against this move. Just to give you a little suggestion now, it's knight to g5, a super aggressive idea, but we'll come to this in the next video. In this game, Black played bishop to b6, and now just simply pawn takes d4 is a good move. Look at these really strong pawns. These strong pawns here can be used to march their way forwards. d5, e5. Here come the space invaders. They're going to come down and kill that black king. Well, again, what should Black do here? It's not easy because we have ideas of knight g5, queen b3, d5, d6, lots of attacking ideas. In the game, Black tried d6, and White couldn't see an immediate way to really pressurise. So again, one of my rules, if you can't see an immediate thing to do, just bring your pieces into the game. Which pieces are not playing? Well, the knight on b1 has a beautiful way into the game, so knight c3. Simple. Now, in this game, Black played knight to f6, which I consider a mistake. He should probably have tried knight to a5, at least asking the bishop where it's going to go, because that bishop is on a very strong square there. I'd probably play a move like bishop d3, just keeping that piece. And after knight e7, I think a very nice move here. I would call this a prophylactic attacking move. I'm trying to think what my opponent's next idea is. I think he wants to develop this piece. He probably wants to pin my knight. So I'm just going to go h6. I'm not rushing the attack here. This is not so much about time now, rather than suffocating first and waiting for my opportunity to arise. But in the game, Black played knight to f6 instead. And what should you do here? Well, now we see a very typical attacking couple of moves. And this is something I really want you to remember. And this is why I picked this game. First, e5. A beautiful way to open up the centre. We want to open up the centre because our king is nicely tucked away. Our opponent's king is not. But if you give it one more move, it will castle. And we don't want to allow that if we can help it. We don't have to allow it to castle. Now, Black 40 had this move covered. He took on e5. What would you play now? And this is the key idea in the Evans Gambit. If you know this idea, you'll get some lovely victories. Pause the video if you need a bit of extra time. Well, the key move here is to stop Black from castling. How can you do that? Bishop to a3, and that bishop just cuts across the black king. Of course, kings can't castle through check, so that stops Black from castling. Now, it's worth pointing out, bishop a3 would not be as strong if there was a black pawn still on d7, but that pawn is moved here. If there was a black pawn on d7, Black would be able to go d6, and that would block the bishop out. This is no longer a possibility. Now, I really hope in this position you weren't considering pawn takes pawn. If so, shame on you. don't want to swap the queens off when you're attacking, and this would allow exchange of queens. Maybe you still have some initiative, but come on, guys, don't swap the queens off, not when you're gambiting. We want to rock and roll our queen. Come on. Would Morphe play like this? No. Just ask yourself that when you're gambiting. What would Morphe do? And then you'll probably sacrifice all your pieces and lose the ending. But you get my idea. Bishop A3. And, okay, well, there's a lot of options here. In the game, Black played knight to A5, trying to get rid of this bishop. What other options did he have? Well, if knight takes D4, I think a good way to play this position would be knight takes knight. And these two bishops that white has are so strong. So queen takes knight, we go queen B3. And if bishop takes knight, there's a very nice move here. Knight to B5. Keep going forwards. What would Morphe play? You're giving up your rook on A1, but after bishop takes A1, queen takes A1, you have a massive threat of queen takes pawn with a checkmating attack. And again, this bishop on A3 stops the black king from castling, all of white's pieces are attacking, and I really don't think black can survive here. After bishop A3, the game continues knight A5. But now knight takes E5, opening up the E file for a white rook to check the king. Knight takes C4, so black has got rid of that strong piece. Now, would you take that knight back, or is there a stronger move? Remember, your knight is very well placed here. Can you bring more pieces into your attack? Pause the video again if you need to. Well, queen takes A4 is a much better move, because this keeps your knight on its great square. I mean, you could have played knight takes C4, but now black has some chances to defend. For example, queen takes D4, rook E1 check, and bishop E6, blocking the rook out. Okay, I still think white has a very dangerous attack here, but it's not as strong as it could be. Because your knight has moved away from its good central square, and you want to, if you can, keep your pieces in the best attacking squares. And queen A4 check allows that to happen. Now, bishop E7 was played, and now queen takes C4. And look at the difference in this position. The knight here helps ideas of queen takes F7 checkmate. There's only one way for black to sufficiently defend against that, and that is bishop E6. Now, another key moment, again showing another key theme in the Evans Gambit. You've done a very good job of trapping your opponent's king in the centre with this thematic idea of bishop A3, trapping that king there. Now, when your opponent's king is stuck in the centre like this, you want to open up lines. Open up lines, even if you have to throw more wood on the fire. Keep that fire burning. Fire. Keep it burning. So how do we keep it burning? How do we open up lines here? D5, of course. And this, even at the cost of a pawn, allows us... We don't want that D pawn. We'd rather that D pawn was not there, because then we have a rook coming to D1 with even more firepower. So just give the pawn away. A very, very nice attacking move. Another thematic idea. Of course, a move like this would not be as powerful. Probably wouldn't work if black was castled, but black is not castled. In the game, black played bishop takes D5. If knight takes D5, we can simply go rook A D1. And after something like C6, knight takes D5. And here, well, black is in all sorts of problems. If bishop takes D5, the retreat, queen E2, the only retreating move, is going to be the end of the game for black. Because there's no way for black to stop a knight jump with a great ambush on the black king. It's impossible to stop that. So in the game, if we go back a couple of moves, black tried bishop takes D5, but now queen A4 check. C6 was played, and now we see why white has got rid of the D pawn. Rook A1, increasing the pressure. I love the harmony of the white pieces. They're all playing ball together here. It's like a brilliant football team. They're passing the ball around. They're getting ready to score. This is what the white pieces are doing. They're coordinating so well. And here, black tried knight D7. He still, of course, cannot castle because of the killing bishop on A3. This is the key thing. And now, very simple solution to this. Knight takes D7. Queen takes D7, knight takes D5, pawn takes D5, and the last question for you guys here, it may look like there's a lot of pieces being exchanged, so it might not be easy to win this position, But what is the winning move here? And after White's next move, which is a really brilliant finish, Black only had one good thing to do, and that was to resign. So pause the video now if you need to work out what that move is. It's a really nice move. I mean, remember your queen is attacked, but more importantly, can we checkmate the black king? Well, the winning move here is the fantastic rook takes d5. And this allows your queen to be captured. In actual fact, Black resigned here because he saw that the only option really is queen takes queen. You can't take the rook because it's pinned. You can't allow your queen to be captured. And after queen takes queen, it's going to be checkmate very shortly because of rook e1 check. And again, this bishop on a3 is the hero of the game. And okay, Black can block the check a couple of times, but it's going to lead to checkmate. So this rook takes d5 is a beautiful way to finish a game. Now, you may have been thinking rook to e1 check, but in actual fact, Black can fight on here with king d8. You're allowing him to escape. So even in these positions where you have brilliant attacking moves, a brilliant initiative, you have to be so accurate. You have to really not let your foot off the gas until your opponent has resigned. Anyway, I think that was a great game from Layman, and I hope that's given you some good ideas about how to play the Evans Gambit. And please do finish all the videos I've got on this, because I'm going to try to give you a good, solid basis for an opening here. And in the next video, we're going to look at a bit more theory side of it. So the idea. And I've looked at this pretty deeply, so I'm pretty confident all the lines I'm going to recommend for you here are going to give you a pretty decent game. And the one thing to remember, when you're playing this Gambit, I'm going to be totally honest with you, I expect that Black can get in an equal position. Well, I'm pretty sure I know he can get in an equal position. But in a practical game, for Black to find the correct moves to get an equal game is very, very tough. Because basically he has to dodge a lot of bullets. You've got your AK-47 out, you're firing the bullets at him. And if he's able to dodge all these bullets, he deserves an equal game. And in a lot of other openings, let's take the Spanish opening. So let's just go for the opening moves. E4. E5, knight to f3, knight to c6. So now we're concentrating on bishop c4 because this is in our spicy range. It gives us good attacking possibilities. But if you take bishop to b5, which a lot of people play, and there's nothing wrong with this move, you may get an advantage, but it's now considered after knight to f6 that Black can gain equality, but in a much more boring way. So I'm recommending this bishop c4, and I'm recommending the Evans Gambit, which we're going to look at, because Black may get equality, but he may also get checkmated. And that's not going to happen if you go bishop to b5. Now, the game I want to show you here is, I believe, the first ever time this opening was played. And it was a game played between Captain William Davis Evans himself of the White Pieces. He was born in 1790 and he died in 1872. He was actually quite an interesting chap. He was a seafarer, inventor, and chess player. And he was born in Wales. And that's just on the, if you don't know, it's on the, let me get this right, the left side of England. I should know that because my father was from Wales. I don't think he was Captain Evans, though. And it was quite funny. He came up with this opening on his pocket chess set when he was out to sea. And this was the first chance he got to play this. And it was in about 1825. So this is the first ever game in this opening. And it's still played nowadays. So what an opening to invent. His opponent, Alexander MacDonald, played bishop to c5 here. And against bishop c5, you're able to play the Evans Gambit. And that is b4. So he must, imagine how excited he must have been to get a chance to play his Gambit, which he's probably been studying on his rocky boat at sea for the last 6 months or something. And he gets a chance to play it. Yeah! This is probably like, Hikaru or Fabiano with their computers. They work, they get their novelty on move 45, they have to wait 5 years, and then they get it in, and it's like, yeah! So, but now, obviously in these days it's on move 4. So we're going to concentrate still so far on bishop takes b4. We'll have a look at the other moves later on, but they're nothing to be worried about. Bishop takes b4 is the only worrying move. Black takes the pawn, and he asks you the question, where is your compensation? Now, if you've seen the first two videos, you should realise the compensation is on building the centre with c3, d4. I'd say that's stage 1. Castling is stage 2. And often attacking f7 is stage 3. These are really the three main things you need to remember. Centre, castles, f7. Centre, castles, f7. So c3. Now, in this game, Black dealt with this move in a very bad way. He played bishop to c5. And in my opinion, this is clearly the worst way to cope with the Evans Gambit. Because you're going to be hit by the move d4. And you're going to lose time because you're going to have to move your bishop again. Now, I did say we're going to look at the theory of this, so I'm going to show you now the other moves available and what you should play. Now, I do recommend you look at this video a couple of times, maybe jump to this point. You know, you don't need to listen to my aimless mumbling earlier on about Captain Evans. Just jump to this point and go over these lines a couple of times. So what are the main options here? Well, really, bishop to a5 is one, or bishop to e7 is the other option. Now, other moves to me don't make any sense. In the game, we'll come back to bishop c5, and the move bishop to d6 just looks silly to me, because it's just blocking in the pawn here. And against this, you can just continue with your normal plan. d4, castles, attack f7. So don't worry about these moves. Now, let's have a look at bishop to a5 first, because in our first two videos, this is what Black played. Now remember, stage 1, get the centre, d4. Now Black has two moves here. E takes d4 is one of the main options. And if you remember the first two videos I did, you should know White's plan here. Castles. You can't take back with a pawn yet, so you want to castle. And in this position already, Black has to be very careful. As we've seen previously, a lot of moves can leave Black in a lot of trouble here. Knight to f6 runs into e5. And if other moves, you even have queen b3, knight g5, and simply pawn takes pawn. So the only move we need to worry about here is knight to e7. This is a good move. Black is getting ready to castle, and in some positions he's getting ready to strike out with d5. For example, here, if you went pawn takes pawn, which I don't recommend, Black can play d5, and I think Black is absolutely fine against this. Now, I found a much more dangerous idea here. Now that the knight has moved to e7, it can no longer come to h6. On h6, the knight defends f7. So to me, it seems logical to start an immediate attack. How can you do that? How can you attack the f7 square? And this is following our real ideas we mentioned earlier on. Centre, castles, f7. Well, you can do that by going knight to g5. And now we're going to look at just how many bullets that Black has to dodge. The immediate threat is knight takes f7, winning the Black queen. And if Black tries something like castles here, he's completely lost after the move queen to h5. Threatening checkmate on h7, and threatening to take on f7. And this is a completely one game for White. So that's the first bullet that Black has to dodge. What is the only move for Black? Well, Black has to play d5 here. And this is a bit like the fried liver gambit, but it's a turbo version for White, because White has castled and White has better attacking opportunities. Now, the best move here is pawn takes pawn. Open up the position. Keep it open because you have castled, your opponent has not. Open it up. And here we have the second bullet that Black has to dodge. The best move here is knight to e5. Now, if Black goes knight takes d5, we're going to win very quickly here again. Can you see what the best move is here? Now, there's a number of options, but I think the best move is an immediate crash, bang, wallop move. And it's a move, if you know the fried liver, and let me very quickly just show you what the fried liver is, because you may have no idea what I'm talking about. The fried liver, very quickly, remember this position, we'll come back to it in a sec, but the fried liver is an opening that goes bishop c4, knight to f6, knight g5. And after d5, pawn takes d5, knight takes d5. This is the fried liver. And if we now go back, let's go through the move, shall we, to the position that we're looking at after bishop to a5, d4, Pawn takes castles, knight e7, knight g5. We get this position. You can see that after knight takes d5, it's very, very similar. So again, once you understand ideas in chess, you can put them into practice in other games. So what is the key move here? Well, I believe knight takes f7 leads to a winning attack for white. This opens up the black king. It brings the black king into no man's land, in the middle of a dangerous attack here. Black has to take that knight, and now queen to f3 check. This attacks the knight on d5 and the king. Now, if we're able to take the knight back on d5, we're going to have a winning attack. Of course, we should take with the bishop to avoid swapping queens. Don't exchange queens because we're attacking. You don't exchange queens when you're attacking. You try to keep them on. It improves your attacking chances. So black really has to try and move like king e6, trying to hold on to his knight, but now simply rook to e1 check. And after something like knight to e5, bishop to f4. And look at all these pins we're doing to black. I mean, black's completely lost. He's threatened with rook takes e5, and his position is going to just crumble here. White's completely winning. So that's the second bullet that black has to dodge. Let's go back a little bit. So this is after, I'm trying to go through the moves a couple of times so you remember the key points. This is after bishop to a5. So we'll go back to the position here. This is after c3, bishop a5, d4, pawn takes, and now we castle. And now the best move, knight to e7. We start an immediate attack with knight g5. d5 is played. We take on d5, and the only move here is knight to e5 for black. Now here I simply recommend queen takes d4, attacking that knight, defending the bishop, getting one pawn back. So we're not even down material here. Pawn to f6 is really, I would consider, the only defensive idea here. Other moves are going to lead to a lot of trouble. I'm not even going to bother showing them. And here I recommend rook e1, opening up, bishop to b6, attacking the queen, queen to h4. And I think this leads to a great attacking position. Black should go knight to g6, and now queen to h5, keeping our pieces as active as possible. Pawn takes g5. Yes, we are sacrificing a piece, but after bishop takes g5, look at the activity of our pieces. The major threat here is rook takes e7 check, because the knight on g6 is pinned. How does black defend? Well, if black castles, d6 check, bang, and we're going to take on e7 next, winning the game. The best move here, a very hard move to find, is bishop takes f2 check, and then castles kingside, with I think an equal position, but still a very interesting position. Now, what else can black do? Well, if black gets greedy and tries something like bishop c5, trying to guard against rook takes e7, we don't have an immediate win. But remember, if you've seen my other videos, what I always say, if you don't have an immediate win, look at bringing in pieces that are not developed. Knight to d2, and the knight is coming in. If black castles, we have this d6 ambush check again. So bishop d6 might be right, and now there's a brilliant win. There is an immediate move here. Rook takes e7 check, because now the knight is not on b1, the other rook can come in. Black can't take with the knight. If he takes with the queen, he loses his queen. He can't take with the king, so he has to go bishop takes e7. And now the last white piece comes into the attack, rook to e1. And here black is in a lost position. There's no way really to stop either rook takes e7 or bishop takes e7. If black castles, we go d6 check, and we simply take on e7 with a winning position. So I know that's quite complicated, that line. I mean, don't worry too much if you can't remember all of that. You can, if you're a more serious studier of the opening, look at that in more detail and go through the moves a couple of times, which, I suggest you do. But I want to make sure I cover you for as much as I can in this video. So we're now going to go back and just cover everything, and we're going to look at bishop a5, d4, and what happens if black plays d6. Well, against this move, rather than castling, which is okay, I would suggest you start an immediate attack against f7. Queen b3 is the best way when the knight is still on g8, because if we go, for example, knight g5, remember knight h6 helps black. But after queen b3, knight h6, the knight will be taken. And here, queen d7 is best. If queen e7, we have d5 and a queen b5 check, winning the bishop. So queen d7, again, a really hard move to find here. It defends f7, but stops any checks. And here I'd recommend simply knight d2 with a big attack here, and a good initiative. We're going to castle, keep our pieces flying in. Have a look at this yourselves. Okay, right, well, after the move, let's go all the way back to the Evans Gambit with b4. Bishop takes b4, c3. I now want to quickly look at bishop e7 and cover you for this move. Well, against this move, we continue the same idea. So if you ever forget what moves you're supposed to be playing, just remember, attack the centre with d4, castle, attack f7. So d4. And here, well, if d6, we can go queen b3. And unlike last time, there's no way for black to defend f7 because the queen can't come to defend it because there's a bishop in the way. And if knight a5, well, we can take on f7 check, and then we can attack the knight with queen a4. This is very good for white. So the best move after d4 is for black to play knight to a5. He's got to get rid of the bishop here. And here I'd simply recommend bishop d3, and black's best move is d6, but here we win our pawn back by playing pawn takes e5. And after pawn takes e5, knight takes e5, we're going to castle. Yes, black can castle, but this leads to a roughly equal position after queen c2, but I think still great attacking chances. The rook comes to d1, our knight comes to d2 to c4, our bishop flies out, this kind of game, with a very comfortable game. Now, really, that's all you need to remember after c3 in a very basic way to play the Evans Gambit with a lot of fun. I just want to show you this first ever game now, so sit back and enjoy. Well, bishop c5 was played. Now, before we play d4, because if we do this straight away, black can take on d4 and go check. There's no point doing that. So before we go d4, Evans castled first, much more natural. And then after knight f6, he played d4. Because, again, remember, timing is very important in gambits, and after black takes on d4, he can't gain time with a check now. Bishop b6 played, and what is a typical move here? You really should know this next move. It's so key to this opening. e5, attacking that knight, and already we can see great compensation here. The knight has no good squares to move, so black tried d5, but look at Eddie the e-pawn. Pawn takes f6, pawn takes c4, and now a little check on e1 first. Let's use that open file. If black was castled here, he'd probably be okay, but he hasn't got time to get castled. King f8, and now a key Evans Gambit move. Can you remember the move? What do you do with your dark square bishop when white has moved his d-pawn away from d7? Bishop a3 check. He can't go d6 anymore because that pawn is no longer there, so he has to go king g8. And when you're attacking, keep creating threats. If you can't see an immediate win, create threats. Pawn to d5, creating a threat against the knight. The knight moved. Bishop e7, creating a threat against the queen. The queen moved, and now white simply opens up the black king. Pawn takes g7, king takes g7. A key moment here. You are attacking, you've got a very promising position. How do you bring more pieces into the attack now? Well, you want to really bring in your big boy, the queen here. The queen's not doing anything on that square on d1. Where would you want to put that queen? Well, I'd love to get it somewhere like g5. And so did Evans. Queen d2, looking to create threats. The threat is queen g5. Black stopped that threat with queen g4, and of course we don't want to exchange queens. But now there's another problem with black's position. The queen comes to another square. Can you see another good square for the queen here? Queen c3 check. Again, the black king in serious problems. King g8 played, and here it's checkmate in 3 moves. And it's a very nice checkmate. Please, if you can't see this straight away, I really do hope you spend a bit of time trying to work it out. Pause the video here. Please do try to work out checkmate in 3 moves. What is the checkmate? It's really nice. Spend a bit of time. Pause the video now. The idea is queen takes h8 check, king takes h8, bishop f6 check. Beautiful idea. We're clearing the way for the rook. And whatever black plays, let's say queen g7, rook to e8 is checkmate. And that was a beautiful game, the first time the Evans Gambit was ever played. And I do recommend that you look at this video a couple of times, because I try to cover most of the theory there. And really a great game. And in the future couple of videos, I'm going to have a look at what happens if black refuses to take the gambit. But look, you've got everything you need now. Go out, get on chess.com, play some games, play against your friends, give this game